Good afternoon, everyone. I am Sherilyn Z. Ferman from Philippine Normal University, South Luzon, first year BTLE HEB, and I am here to discuss the comparison of terrestrial and water ecosystem. But first, let me discuss the similarities and differences of terrestrial and aquatic ecosystem. So the coverage of this presentation are the following: definition of ecosystem, definition of terrestrial and aquatic ecosystem, similarities and differences of terrestrial and aquatic ecosystems, and how fish help in an aquatic ecosystem. Now, what is ecosystem? It is the structural and functional unit of ecology where the living things or living organisms interact with each other and the surrounding environment. In other words, an ecosystem is a chain of interaction between organisms and their environment. The simplest definition of an ecosystem is that it is a community or group of living organisms that live and interact with each other in a specific environment. So the keyword here is a community or group of living organisms. An ecosystem is defined as community of life forms in concurrence with non-living components interacting with each other. For instance, a tropical forest are ecosystems made up of living beings such as trees, plants, animals, insects, and microorganisms that are in constant interaction between themselves and that are affected by other physical or chemical components. So, sa Tagalog, ito ay isang pamayanan ng mga bagay na may buhay at walang buhay. Ito ay ang interaksyon ng mga buhay na organismo sa bawat isa at interaksyon ng mga buhay na organismo sa mga bagay na walang buhay. Ang halimbawa ng mga nabubuhay na organismo ay microbes, halaman at mga hayop. At ang halimbawa naman ng mga di nabubuhay na organismo ay sikat ng araw, tubig, hangin at mineral. Mayroon tayong dalawang uri ng ecosystem. Ito ay ang terrestrial at aquatic ecosystem. Terrestrial ecosystem is a land-based community of organisms and the interactions of biotic and abiotic components in a given area. So, sabi, sa madaling salita, ang terrestrial ecosystem ay ang panlupang ecosystem. Ang mga galaw ng hayop o halaman dito ay nakadepende sa lupa sapagkat dito sila nakatira. Ang mga halimbawa ng terrestrial ecosystem ay grassland, forest, and desert. Ang pangalawang uri ng ecosystem naman ay ang aquatic ecosystem. Aquatic ecosystem is a water-based environment wherein living organisms interact with both physical and chemical features of the environment. The living creatures whose food, shelter, reproduction, and other essential activities depend on water-based environment. Kabaliktaran naman ito ng terrestrial ecosystem sapagkat ito ay pantubig. 'Di ba kanina ang terrestrial ecosystem ay panglupa. Ito naman ay pantubig at ang lahat ng buhay dito ay nakadepende sa tubig. Ang mga pisikal na katangian ng mga nabubuhay na hayop o halaman ay depende sa kung saang ecosystem ito nabubuhay. Halimbawa, ang isda ay may buntot sapagkat ito ang kailangan niya upang mabuhay sa tubig. At ang aso naman ay may paa sapagkat ito ang kailangan niya para mabuhay sa lupa. So, yung physical features ng mga hayop ay nakadepende sa kung saan sila nabubuhay na lugar. Kung sa lupa, maaaring meron silang paa. Paa talaga yung kalagian na meron ng isang hayop na nabubuhay sa lupa dahil yun ang kailangan nila para mabuhay. Samantalang sa aquatic ecosystem naman ay ang meron sila ay gills at buntot para sila'y makahinga at makagalaw sa tubig. Ang mga halimbawa ng aquatic ecosystem ay freshwater ecosystem. Ito ay ang lentic o stagnant water. Ito ay mga lakes, ponds, lothic o flowing water. Ang mga halimbawa nito ay river, ocean, and sea. Letter B, transitional communities. Ito ay ang estuaries and wetlands. Bogs, fens, swamps, and marshes. Letter C, marine ecosystem. Ito ay ang shorelines, barrier islands, coral reefs, and open sea. Dako naman tayo sa similarities of terrestrial and aquatic ecosystem. So, meron silang pagkakaparehas. Ang aquatic and terrestrial, kahit sila ay magkaiba, ay meron pa rin silang pagkakaparehas. So, ito yun. I-discuss natin isa-isa. Number 1, in both terrestrial and aquatic environments, the ecosystems include community made up of variety of species. So, binubuo ito ng iba't ibang uri ng nabubuhay na organismo. Bawat ecosystem, meron silang iba't ibang uri ng hayop. Halimbawa ay sa aquatic ecosystem, 'di ba maraming uri ng isda doon. May whale, merong bangus, merong tilapia, 'yon, ganon. Maraming iba't ibang uri ng hayop, mapa-aquatic man o terrestrial. Doon sila nagkakaparehas. So number 2, within both terrestrial and aquatic communities, there are populations that at different trophic nutrient levels. So, ang iba't ibang hayop, mapa-aquatic man o terrestrial, ay nabibilang sa iba't ibang trophic levels. So, i-discuss ko yung trophic level. Ibig sabihin ng trophic level, it is a step in a nutritive series or food chain of an ecosystem. The organisms of a chain are classified into levels on the basis of their feeding behavior. So, meron tayong 4 na trophic levels. Una ay producers, herbivores ang pangalawa, 3rd ay carnivores, at 4 ay secondary carnivores. Ang producers, tinatawag din ito na primary producers. Ito ay ang mga green plants o halaman na nakakain ng mga hayop. Pangalawa ay ang herbivores o tinatawag din na primary consumer. Consumer na siya kasi kinakain niya yung plants na primary producer. Carnivores ay tinatawag din na secondary consumers kasi ang kinakain niya na ay mga meat. Kinakain niya yung herbivores. 4th is secondary carnivores. It eats primary carnivores. Ito ay tertiary consumer na. In terms of energy naman, may pinakamataas na nakukuhang energy ay ang producers dahil sa kanila napupunta yung mga nutrients na galing sa lupa at sikat ng araw, at dahil sila yung may kakayahan na mag-photosynthesis, at ang may pinakakakaunti namang energy na nakukuha ay ang secondary carnivores o tinatawag din natin na tertiary consumer dahil ilang ulit nang na-recycle yung nutrients. 3rd, a great deal of mutual independence exists between species in both terrestrial and aquatic environments. Meaning, may nag-exist pa rin na mutual independence sa mga species na aquatic at terrestrial kahit magkakaibang uri ito. Ang halimbawa nito ay ang tao sa halaman. Ang tao ay nabubuhay dahil sa oxygen na binibigay ng halaman at ang halaman naman ay nabubuhay dahil sa carbon dioxide na binibigay ng tao. So parang mutually independent tayo sa isa't isa. Kung tayo ay nabubuhay dahil sa halaman, nabubuhay din ang halaman dahil sa atin. Parang nagpapalitan lang tayo ng benefits, parang ganun. So 4th, in an undisturbed terrestrial and aquatic ecosystems, equilibrium is reached. Very few major changes are observed during a period of time. Equilibrium is a state of rest or balance to the equal action of opposing forces. So, dako naman tayo sa differences of terrestrial and aquatic ecosystem. First, because aquatic environments are so rich in nutrients, they support more lives than equivalent terrestrial ecosystems. The small drifting photosynthetic organisms of the oceans, referred to as collectively as phytoplankton, are regarded as the major photosynthesizers or primary producers of the earth. So, phytoplankton are mostly microscopic, single-celled photosynthetic organisms that live suspended in water. Like land plants, they take up carbon dioxide, make carbohydrates using light energy, and release oxygen. They sit at the bottom of the food chain because they are the primary producer in aquatic ecosystem. So, itong phytoplankton na ito yung nag-a-act as plants sa aquatic ecosystem. Kumbaga, kung dito meron tayong halaman, sa dagat may halaman din. Ang tawag sa kanila ay phytoplankton. Sila yung primary producer. Sila yung nagpapakain sa mga species na nasa dagat. So, high amounts of nutrients in the aquatic ecosystem leads to excessive growth or blooms of algae. Too much nutrients such as nitrogen and phosphorus can be detrimental to aquatic animals. So, delikado rin pala kapag sumobra yung nutrients sa water ecosystem or aquatic ecosystem. Kapag sumobra yung phosphorus at nitrogen, pwede ring maging dahilan ito ng kamatayan ng mga species sa aquatic ecosystem. Aquatic environments are much more stable than terrestrial environment, with smaller fluctuations in temperature and other variables. So, temperature is also important because it affects how animals live their lives in an ecosystem. Mas stable daw sa aquatic environment yung temperature kumpara sa terrestrial environment. Siyempre, 'di ba, pag nasa terrestrial environment ka, tulad dito, tayo ay nasa lupa, merong iba't ibang uri ng environment. Sa ibang lugar, merong spring, fall, merong winter, may summer, yun iba't iba ang temperature. Mas mabilis magbago. Pag umaga malamig, pag tanghali mainit, pag gabi malamig. Hindi katulad sa aquatic environment na stable. Stable yung kanyang temperature. So, next is oxygen. Oxygen, because there is very much less present, is sometimes a limiting factor in aquatic habitats, but this is seldom in the case of terrestrial habitats. There is much more oxygen in terrestrial ecosystem than aquatic ecosystem. The availability of oxygen in the aquatic ecosystem is limited. This is the reason why some dolphins in the ocean dies from drowning. So, pagdating naman sa oxygen, obvious naman na mas maraming available na oxygen ay sa terrestrial. So, hindi na natin kailangang umahon para maghanap ng oxygen. Hindi katulad ng mga isda na kung kailangan nila ng oxygen, kailangan pa nilang umahon sa dagat para lang makahinga. So, ito yung nagiging dahilan ng pagkamatay ng ilang mga dolphins kapag hindi na nila kinakaya, kapag sobrang taas na ng pressure at di na nila kayang makaahon, namamatay na sila dahil nalulunod na sila. Next is, light can be a limiting factor in some aquatic habitats, but in most terrestrial environments, there is hardly ever a shortage of light. Light is also limited in an aquatic ecosystem because there is no storage of light, unlike in terrestrial environment where light is everywhere. So, dito sa aquatic environment, habang lumalalim, mas nagiging kaunti yung available na light. Kaya pag pumunta ka sa isang malalim na dagat, pag sumisid ka sa ilalim, kaunting light lang yung makakarating doon. Kasi kakaunti yung storage nila ng light. Unlike dito sa terrestrial environment, na hindi talaga nagkukulang sa light kasi masyado tayong direct sa araw. Madali tayong nasisikatan ng araw. So, next is, terrestrial animals are influenced far more by gravity while water supports aquatic organisms. This is the reason why animals in land has feet while animals in water has tail, because animals in land are being supported by gravity while animals in water are being supported by water. So, ito yung dahilan kung bakit tayo ay may paa, tapos yung mga isda ay may buntot. Kasi, tayo ay nabubuhay sa lupa. So, anong gagawin natin? Alangan namang magkabuntot tayo ay tayo nasa lupa, diba? So, ang kailangan natin is paa para tayo makalakad. Kasi gravity tayo. Unlike dun sa aquatic ecosystem na nabubuhay sila sa tubig. Yan, lumalangoy kasi sila. Kaya kailangan nila ng gills at saka ng buntot. So, next, I'm gonna show you a table of comparison of aquatic ecosystem and terrestrial ecosystem in terms of abiotic characteristics such as light, water, ions, gases, viscosity, temperature, and pressure. So, sa light, katulad ng sabi ko kanina, as the depth increases, the amount of light decreases. Kapag lumalalim ka, mas kakaunting light yung nakakarating sa ilalim ng dagat. Sa terrestrial ecosystem naman, light is available in most terrestrial environments. The amount of light available is important for plant growth. Itong light sa terrestrial ecosystem, hindi na to problema kasi kahit saan ka tumingin may light as long as may araw. So, in terms of water is readily available, but access to this water sometimes depends on osmotic factors. In terrestrial ecosystem naman, availability varies depending on rainfall or groundwater. So, advantage ng terrestrial ang light, at ang aquatic naman ang advantage niya ay water. Kasi kahit saan may water sa aquatic ecosystem, samantalang sa terrestrial naman, ay nakadepende pa sa rainfall or groundwater. Halimbawa, sa desert, di ba, pag hindi naman talaga umuulan doon, walang tubig. Kapag hindi umulan sa isang terrestrial ecosystem, hindi sila magkakatubig or wala silang groundwater. Samantalang sa aquatic ecosystem naman, hindi na yun problema kasi anywhere na ang kanilang tubig. So, in terms of ions, saltwater environments contain dissolved ions such as sodium and chloride. Dito naman sa terrestrial ecosystem, ang ions ay present in soil. Dito sa aquatic, yung ions ay present sa saltwater. Dito naman sa terrestrial, present ang ion ay sa soil. So, in terms of gases, dissolved oxygen increases with decreasing temperature and decreases with depth. Gases are readily available in the air, and air contains about 20% oxygen and 0.03% carbon dioxide. Ito naman ay sa terrestrial ecosystem. So, dako naman tayo sa viscosity. Viscosity is a state of being thick, sticky, and semi-fluid in consistency. In terms of aquatic ecosystem, low viscosity but is more viscous than air. In terrestrial ecosystems naman, very low viscosity. So, in temperature, katulad ng sabi ko kanina, sa aquatic ay stable. So, less variation ang temperature dito sa aquatic ecosystem. While sa terrestrial naman, ay ang temperature experience daily and seasonal variation. So, seasonal, may season para sa taglamig, may season para sa tag-init. So, in terms of pressure naman, katulad ng sabi ko kanina, as the pressure increases, the depth increases also. Sa aquatic ecosystem, pag ikaw ay nalalim, yung pressure ay nataas din. Kaya kapag pumunta ka sa ilalim, di ba, kung mapapansin mo, pag ikaw ay sumisid sa ilalim, parang hinihila ka na rin pababa kasi tumataas yung pressure habang ikaw ay pumupunta sa malalim na parte ng dagat. Dito naman sa terrestrial ecosystem, as pressure decreases, the altitude increases. Dito naman sa pressure, habang ikaw ay nataas, nawawala naman yung pressure habang ikaw ay naakyat. Nawawala yung pressure, 'di ba? Kaya sa space ay lumulutang ka na lang kasi walang gravity doon. Wala nang pressure doon. So, ayun yung dahilan. Now, let's move on to how fish as a living unit help in aquatic ecosystem. First, let me discuss what is fish. Fish is any of various cold-blooded aquatic vertebrates having gills, commonly fins, and typically an elongated body covered with scales. So, itong fish, matatagpuan natin ito sa kahit na anong uri ng tubig. Halimbawa ay sa dagat, sa river. Facts about fishes. Fish can be found in all bodies of water like lakes, rivers, seas, oceans, and ponds. In total, it is estimated that there are over 32,000 different species of fish worldwide. The difference in size amongst fish is as wide as the oceans themselves. A cyprinid fish, the world's smallest fish, is only 0.3 inches long, while the whale shark is one of the world's largest fish at over 30 feet long. The amount of fish that humans capture is staggering. In 2016, an estimated 91 million tons of fish were captured. It is becoming clear that humans are overfishing and destabilizing the marine ecosystems within the last century. Over 2/3 of the population of predatory fishes, such as sharks, have also declined. Overall has been a decrease in both biodiversity and abundance irrespective of what marine ecosystem is observed. So, why do we need to protect fish? What is its role in the ecosystem? Fish make a major contribution to their ecosystem, providing essential nutrients that support the whole ecosystem. Simply put, fish are excellent recycles of the nutrients that algae and other bottom-level species need to survive, that in turn support the remainder of the ecosystem. The importance of this function suggests that overfishing can be highly detrimental to the proper functioning of the whole ecosystem. Nitrogen and phosphorus are crucial nutrients in aquatic ecosystems, as most organisms at the base of the food chain rely on them. The recycling of nutrients is directly influenced by fishes. Nutrients such as nitrogen and phosphorus are critical for supporting the productivity of plants and microorganisms at the base of aquatic food webs. Fish play an important role in the nutrient cycles because they store a large portion of ecosystem nutrients in their tissues, transport nutrients farther than other aquatic animals, and excrete nutrients in dissolved forms that are readily available to primary producers. Ecosystem services. Fisheries provide ample ecosystem services for a great number of communities, especially species of fish provide both recreational and cultural services around the world, from sport fishing in ponds to various religious ceremonies. Economic contribution. Food from fish alone generated 231.6 billion in value for 2016. Globally, the supply chain of fisheries employs an estimated 120 million people, with 116 million of these jobs located in developing world. Uniqueness, as fish are found in all different habitats around the world, from deep in the ocean to shallow streams. Fish have evolved and adapted to their respective habitats in fascinating ways. For instance, some species of fish navigate and hunt through electroreception, a process by which they detect and respond to electrical stimuli to learn things such as the speed of the current. So, sa madaling salita, mahalagang protektahan natin ang mga fish dahil sila yung tumutulong at nagbibigay din ng nutrients sa ecosystem. In simple word, they help the aquatic ecosystem through excretion. They recycle the nutrients they take in. Tapos, ito yung nagsisilbing fertilizer sa mga phytoplankton o yung mga halaman sa dagat. Sila yung nagbibigay ng enough na nutrients para mag-grow yung mga phytoplankton na nagiging primary producers. Thank you for listening to my report. So, the next presenter is Mutia Aranillo, and she will discuss the comparison of fish production in the Philippines with landlocked countries. Thank you!